The most beloved TV personality in Mexico, Paco Stanley, was killed in a manner nobody had expected. The killer left no signs behind, and even after 25 years have passed, this murder has remained a mystery. But things might be about to change now. Have the authorities finally caught up with who killed Paco Stanley? Join us as we explore the hidden truth about the death of Paco Stanley. Paco's early life. Paco was born on July 3, 1942, and while his full name was Francisco Stanley Muñoz, everyone just calls him Paco. His parents were Francisco Stanley Muñoz and Josefina Albaitero Vivanco, and he was baptized on August 8 that same year. Paco was a smart man. He got a degree in law and even studied psychology, marketing, and advertising at the National Autonomous University of Mexico. When he was younger, he actually taught literature to high school kids, an illustrious career. Paco kicked off his radio career back in 1969 at XEX-AM. He was involved in all sorts of news programs and even had a gig on a show called Capitans Infantile del Aire. On this show, he played a bunch of different characters, and his niece Rocio Garcia Stanley joined him too. Fast forward a bit, and Paco found himself on Televisa, where he was part of this show called Sonrisas y Sorpresas, which aired from 1988 to 1991. It was all about bringing smiles and surprises to the audience. Paco's television career took off when he got hired by Televisa in 1974 to work on Channel 4's show Nuestra Gente. Over the years, he appeared on several shows like Alegrías de Mediodía, Divertidísimo, La Mujer Ahora, and El Club del Hogar. He often worked alongside Francisco Madaleno Fuentes and took over from the late announcer Daniel Perez Arcaras. In 1986, Paco became the host of La Carabina de Ambrosio, a role that really put him in the spotlight. That same year, he also hosted a show called En Pantalla. By 1988, Paco was presenting the entertainment section for ECO, a news channel. Then in 1991, he hit it big with a show called Andale, co-hosted by Arlette Garibay and Benito Castro. This show was a massive hit and got great ratings. He didn't stop there, though. In 1993, Paco was the host of Llevatelo, working with Gabriela Rufo, and in 1995, he was at it again with, quote, Pacatelas, sharing the stage with Mario Bezares and Benito Castro. Then began his fascinating journey in the entertainment world. Paco was a legend in the Mexican theater scene for about 15 years, playing the lead in a funny version of Don Juan Tenorio. They'd put on this play every year during the Day of the Dead season, and Paco was always the show's star. Paco wasn't just about theater, though. He was a renowned reciter of poetry, too. He became famous for his poetic performances and even recorded 3 LP albums. Then there was his stint with TV Azteca. On December 15, 1998, Paco launched a new show called Una Tras Otra, teaming up again with Mario Bezares and bringing in entertainment journalist Jorge Gil. This show was a hit, but Paco didn't stop there. In May 1999, he came out with another show, a Saturday night special called Si Hay Yi Bien, but unfortunately, it only lasted 3 episodes. Radio was another platform where Paco shined. He had a comedy and political satire show on Radio Tres called Un Poco de Paco in Radio 13. Sadly, the show ended in June 1999 due to his tragic murder. But during its run, it was well loved by listeners. Paco's talent and hard work didn't go unnoticed. He racked up several awards throughout his career. One notable accolade was the Calendario Azteca de Oro for the best announcer in 1983 to 1984, given by the Mexican Association of Press, Radio, and Television, AMPRIT. He also received awards like the Rosa de Oro, Palmas de Oro, Diosa de Plata, and Estrella de Plata, recognizing him as the best national announcer in 1984 to 1985. Those are some serious bragging rights. Even after his untimely death, Paco's influence continued. On June 7, 1999, his album Paco Stanley, Los Mejores Poemas, was released by Fonovisa. Despite the shock of his murder, the album went on to achieve gold certification in 2001. It's a testament to his enduring legacy and the love people had for his work. Fast forward to 2023, and there's even more to Paco's story. A biographical series about his life was announced. However, it stirred up a bit of controversy because it didn't have the green light from Paco's family. Regardless, the announcement shows that Paco's life and career still captivate people. The controversies that left people in doubts. One of the most memorable things about Paco's shows was a goofy tradition called the Gallinazo. Whenever Paco shouted the Gallinazo, his sidekick, Mario Bezares, had to drop whatever he was doing and bust out the most outrageous dance moves. It was hilarious and everyone loved it. But one day, the Gallinazo led to something unexpected. During one of these crazy dance routines, Mario got so into it that he jumped around wildly and a tiny bag with white powder fell out of his pocket. People quickly suspected it was cocaine. Mario denied it in countless interviews, but the whole incident made a lot of people suspicious. This moment got swept under the rug for a while, but it came back to haunt him years later. Now let's jump to a big turning point in Paco's career. By the end of the 90s, he did something nobody saw coming. He left Televisa and signed with their rival, TV Azteca. So why did he make this big move? Pacatelas, his show, was super popular. It had top-notch production, fancy guests, and huge audiences. But it was also unpredictable. You never knew what wild thing Paco might do next. There was one particularly awkward episode when Shakira, who was just 19, came on the show. Paco made some inappropriate and harassing comments that made her visibly uncomfortable. This incident didn't just upset Shakira, it also ticked off some bigwigs in the TV industry. Many believe this was the moment things started to sour between Paco and Televisa. A few months after this controversy, the big announcement came. Paco and Mario were moving to TV Azteca, Televisa's direct competitor. They launched a new show called Una Tras Otra, which had the same fun and chaotic energy as Pacatelas. Paco and Mario were back in the spotlight, making people laugh both in the studio and at home. But how exactly did his life come to an end? A deeply suspicious note. So, Una Tras Otra was a hit show where Paco and his team really knew how to connect with their audience. They had this great segment where they read letters and took live calls from viewers. It was a big part of what made the show feel so personal and engaging. Besides that, they had guests, interviews, and even a segment for showbiz news. It was a lively mix that kept people tuning in. But no one had any idea that both the show and Paco's life were about to come to an abrupt end. It was Monday, June 7, 1999, and the crew was gearing up for another live broadcast. Paco was ready to go, doing his usual thing, when something unusual happened. Normally, he'd kick things off with a bit of fun, sometimes urging his sidekick, Mario Bezares, to start with the buzzard dance. But on this day, everyone just laughed it off because Mario had a broken finger, making the dance impossible. They moved on to the greetings segment, where Paco would read out messages from fans. He seemed a bit rushed, like he was just going through the motions, until one message really grabbed his attention. Paco's tone changed completely as he read it, and he called out to Mito, saying there was a surprise for everyone. Mito, who was Pedrosa, thanked him and headed to the cabin, saying he'd be back soon. Paco asked where he was going, and Mito casually replied, "To the little bathroom." Here's where it gets chilling. Many people still believe that the message Paco read contained a threat, either towards him or his family. Whatever it was, Paco seemed to know that something bad was about to happen. Paco's murder and what happened next. It all went down at around 12:10 p.m. on Monday, June 7, 1999. Paco had just wrapped up the morning broadcast of his show, Una Tras Otra, on TV Azteca, and decided to grab some breakfast with his buddies, Mario Bezares, Jorge Gil, his driver Jorge Garcia Escandon, and a few bodyguards at a restaurant called El Charco de las Ranas in Mexico City. Everything seemed normal until Bezares got a phone call. He walked away from the group to take it and then headed to the bathroom, saying the food didn't sit well with him. Meanwhile, Paco and the rest of the gang finished up and went to wait in their car for Bezares outside the restaurant. That's when things took a dark turn. Out of nowhere, some men crossed a pedestrian bridge over the Anillo Periférico and ambushed them. These guys were armed with a machine gun and fired more than 20 shots at Paco's vehicle. Tragically, Paco was killed instantly by 4 shots to the face. His friend Jorge Gil got hit in the leg. It wasn't just them who were affected. A 30-year-old insurance agent named Juan Manuel de Jesus Núñez was also killed by a stray bullet while leaving the restaurant with his wife, who ended up seriously injured. Even a young valet, just 18 years old, got badly hurt. After Paco's assassination, there were all sorts of theories flying around. The biggest one was that he had ties to drug trafficking. The authorities said they found a bag of what they identified as cocaine on Paco that day, but his family completely denied this. This speculation wasn't new, as Paco had previously received a gift with a note from Mauro Zambada, a notorious drug lord. Some believed Mario and Paola had conspired against Paco, while another layer to this mystery involved Jorge Gil, who was with Paco during the attack. He fully recovered from his injuries and wrote a book detailing the events, claiming that Paco and Mario's relationship had soured and that Mario was acting suspiciously on the day of the murder. Jorge's account added fuel to the fire, making people wonder if there was more to Mario's story. Years later, despite the official silence, the case remains unsolved. Theories about drug cartels, revenge, and money laundering continue to circulate. The release of a new series in 2024 on Amazon Prime Video titled Who Killed Him aims to explore Paco's life and murder, featuring stars like Diego Boneta, Belinda, and Luis Gerardo Mendez. However, the series doesn't have the consent of Paco's family, which adds another layer of controversy. The whole incident led to a huge wave of criticism in the media aimed at the head of government of the federal district at the time, Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas Solorzano, and the Attorney General, Samuel Delvier. People were upset about the rising violence in the city, and this murder seemed like a clear sign of organized crime at work. Just a few weeks after his assassination, things took a wild turn when two people from his show, Mario Bezares and the hostess, Paola Durante, were accused of being the masterminds behind the killing. The whole situation got even messier when an incident on live TV added fuel to the fire. So here's what went down. During a live broadcast, Mario Bezares was doing a little dance, and he ended up falling to the floor. In the process, a clear bag filled with white powder, yep, it was cocaine, fell out of his pocket. Mario quickly handed the bag to Paco, who just gave a nervous smile and didn't say anything. Now, this wasn't some late-night adults-only show. It was broadcast during family-friendly hours, making it seem like Mario had genuinely messed up rather than playing a joke. This incident seriously boosted the rumors that Paco was involved in drugs and that Mario might have been part of the plot to kill him. Adding to the drama, there were whispers about Brenda Bezares, Mario's wife, having an affair with Paco. Some even speculated that one of Brenda's kids was actually Paco's child because the resemblance was pretty striking when comparing photos. Despite these rumors, Brenda and Mario have always denied any extramarital affair. On the day of Paco's murder, June 7th, TV Azteca and Televisa went all out with their coverage. They spent hours showing the crime scene, doing interviews, and keeping an eye on the public prosecutor's office. The media didn't hold back on criticizing the government either. They slammed the government of the federal district for not doing enough to curb the rampant crime in the city and for failing to act quickly. For instance, Jacobo Zabludowski from Televisa's news program Hoy was calling for resignations, saying, "Someone has to resign." Meanwhile, over at TV Azteca, journalist Jorge Geraldo was angrily pointing fingers at Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas, the head of the government, saying it was his responsibility. The whole media frenzy created a new kind of journalism in Mexico. The TV networks turned into powerful tools against the state, with Televisa and TV Azteca leading the charge. TV Azteca even took to the skies with a helicopter to monitor the public prosecutor's office. The investigation by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federal District really began with some intense accusations. These accusations were based on statements from Luis Valencia, who used to work as a cook for a big-time drug trafficker named Luis Ignacio Amezcua, the supposed leader of the Colima cartel. According to Valencia, Amezcua had a meeting with Paola Durante to hatch a plan to murder Paco Stanley. Apparently, Paco had some serious debts with the drug cartels, and Paola was supposed to coordinate with Mario Bezares on when and where to carry out the hit. Things got even murkier when Erasmo Perez Garnica, also known as El Cholo, was arrested. His physical description matched the composite sketches of the killer provided by witnesses. Valencia claimed he overheard Amezcua ordering El Cholo to kill Paco because of the money he owed. He also mentioned that Bezares had intentionally delayed in the restaurant's bathroom to give the hitmen enough time to complete their mission. The plot thickens. The investigators also accused José Luis Rosendo Martinez, Bezares' assistant, of diverting Paco's bodyguard, Enrique Gabriel Tamayo, away from the SUV, allowing El Cholo to execute the attack. And then there was Jorge Garcia Escandon, Paco's driver, who allegedly stayed completely still during the assault, making it easier for the killers to do their job. Suspiciously, he didn't get hit by any bullets during the whole ordeal. But then the entire case took a dramatic turn. Luis Valencia, who was already in prison for other crimes, took back his statements. He claimed that the investigators had tortured him to make him incriminate the others. With Valencia's recantation and a lack of solid evidence, all the accused were declared innocent after spending more than a year behind bars. Fast forward to today, and the case is still unsolved. However, there's a new twist. Recently, a guy claiming to be the real hitman behind Paco Stanley's murder was captured. But even with this new development, the investigations have been a bit unclear, and they haven't been able to definitively prove whether this person is indeed the hitman, the suspects. On June 22, 1999, the drama kicked off when Mario Bezares was detained at the San Juan Hotel in Mexico City. Mario was the main suspect in Paco's murder because he conveniently spent a lot of time in the bathroom right when Paco was shot. He wasn't a direct eyewitness, but he was there at the scene, which raised a lot of eyebrows. Then on August 19, 1999, things heated up even more when Paola Durante was also detained by the authorities at the Miguel Angel Hotel in Mexico City. The buzz was that she was the go-between for Mario and a drug trafficker named Luis Amezcua. This connection made her a significant figure in the investigation. Fast forward a bit to August 27, 1999, and Mario, Paola, and three other guys, Erasmo Perez Garnica, José Luis Rosendo Martinez, and Jorge Garcia Escandon, were all transferred to prison. This move made it clear that the authorities were taking the case very seriously and were rounding up everyone they thought might be involved. On September 2, 1999, the plot thickened when a judge ordered formal imprisonment for all 5 suspects. It was a major development because it meant the case was moving forward with significant charges against them. The charges included aggravated homicide, attempted homicide, and aggravated injuries, which are pretty severe. On January 25, 2001, after more than a year in prison, there was a big twist. The judge issued release orders for all 5 suspects because there wasn't enough evidence to confirm their involvement in the crimes. It was a huge turn of events and left a lot of people stunned and frustrated, as it seemed like justice for Paco's murder was still out of reach. In February 2002, the authorities caught a major suspect named Luis Alberto Salazar Vega, better known by his nickname El Bolas. This man was the chief hitman for the Tijuana cartel and was nabbed for kidnapping a Sinaloa drug trafficker named José Velázquez Martinez. Interestingly, El Bolas looked a lot like Erasmo Perez Garnica, also known as El Cholo, who had been previously linked to Paco's murder. The twist here is that El Bolas was later accused of being the actual hitman who killed Paco. The story goes that he was sent by the Arellano Felix brothers, along with 2 other guys, Ruben Quintero Madrid, nicknamed El Rito, and someone with the ominous alias El Hitler. In 2003, things got more eventful when Ruben Quintero Madrid, El Rito, managed to escape from prison. Imagine the chaos and the headlines that escape must have caused. Then on April 14, 2004, El Bolas himself broke out of a prison in Tijuana. At this point, it's like a full-on action movie with these notorious figures slipping through the cracks of the prison system. After years on the run, El Bolas was finally recaptured on April 5, 2011. When they got him, he vehemently denied any involvement in Paco Stanley's murder. He was adamant that he wasn't the guy who killed the beloved TV host, despite all the accusations thrown his way. Even today, we still don't know who really killed Paco Stanley. The case remains a mystery, with lots of theories but no definitive answers. The arrest, escape, and recapture of key suspects like El Bolas and El Rito have added layers of intrigue to an already complex case, a series based on Paco Stanley. Paco's murder is a mystery that has gripped Mexico much like the O.J. Simpson case did in the U.S. This mystery came to Amazon Prime Video in a series called Who Killed Him on May 24, 2024. The six-part miniseries dives into the unsolved murder of Paco Stanley, who was gunned down outside a popular restaurant in Mexico City. Who Killed Him will explore this complex case from the perspectives of six people close to Stanley at the time of his murder. Each episode reveals different aspects of fame, betrayal, and the dark side of the entertainment industry, suggesting various suspects and motives. The series also touches on potential drug links, as authorities found cocaine in Stanley's blood and a small bag of the drug in his pocket, along with a grinding kit. The series features a stellar cast. Up-and-coming Mexican actor Roberto Duarte plays Paco Stanley, a role that could be his big break. Luis Gerardo Mendez, known for his roles in Club de Cuervos and Narcos Mexico, portrays Mario Bezares, Paco's sidekick who was arrested as a suspect in the murder. Mendez commented that the series highlights the comedy of errors within the Mexican justice system. Belinda, a well-known pop star and actress, plays Paula Durante, another colleague of Stanley's who was also jailed as a suspect. Diego Boneta, famous for playing Luis Miguel in the Netflix series about the singer's life, portrays Jorge Gil, the journalist who survived the attack, and later wrote a book about the murder titled My Truth. Produced by Amazon Studios, the series promises to be gripping, although it's important to note that it falls into the realm of fiction, inspired by real events. The creators have used information from direct sources in the files of the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and Mexico's Federal Attorney General's office. And just like that, the quest to figure out what happened to Paco Stanley continues.